Yo, JD here, to Limitless, and as you can see, we are back on F1 2021, and today we are back with some more league racing action, this time for round 4 of the British Racing Series BRS, and we arrive at Suzuka, Japan. Bit of a recap of the season so far, so please mute if you don't want it to be spoiled. I will put the championship standings at the end of this video if they have been updated. But yeah, started off well at USA for round 1, and then round 2 and 3 was pretty much a complete disaster. Yeah, Baku last time out, I actually rage quit the race at the end, and so if you haven't seen that, then I'm sure you'll probably find it quite entertaining. But yeah, coming into this race, I pretty much hadn't played F1 for an entire week. I just decided to take a complete reset, a complete break from the game, in all honesty, because I was just a bit tired of it and a bit frustrated with the game, and we are coming towards the end of its life cycle, and I decided to do a reset. I didn't really put that much practice into this race at all. I think probably one of the least amount of practice I ever put into a race. I only did probably about 10 laps in TT just to get a setup. So this is mainly a time trial setup, and then did one Grand Prix mode of qualifying, and the pace actually surprisingly was quite good. Suzuka's always been a track that I've enjoyed driving, and I think it's one of those tracks where I feel like I never truly forget how to drive. So I got up to speed quite quickly, and you can see the pace so far. Q1 we got through quite comfortably, and we actually did an additional lap there, and in Q2 we're only less than a tenth away from the fastest time. So I was actually quite surprised at this. I didn't expect to be that fast here, considering the preparation. But sometimes when I drive more relaxed, as you can see, we've gone quite deep into that last chicane, so a lot of time to be found there. But the more relaxed I am, the better I actually perform. As I go across the line now, fucking hell, there's so much time in that. Fuck, there's so much time. And yeah, we did a 28-1 for our first banker in Q3. And there's a lot of time to be found in this last chicane. So as the session went on, the more confident I actually got. And as I said, sometimes when I don't have as high expectations, I just relax a bit more and actually just perform better. So this is our fastest lap we did in the qualifying, and this is probably one of the best laps I've actually done on the F1 2021 game. And through this first sector, it was a really nice first sector, to be honest. I don't think there was that much time to be found here, and hooking this up really nicely. You can see we're over a tenth up just through this first sector alone. So coming through here, it should be a 31.9. It's a very low 0.9, almost a 0.8, and so far this lap is very nice. Coming into chicane, was hairpin, sorry. Really enjoyed this corner and got some great rotation. You can see we gained almost half a tenth just going through that corner alone. Now coming to Spoon, one of my favourite sequence of corners, 50-metre board, actually breaking a turning point, trying to use all the curb on the outside, turn earlier than you think, close as you dare to that curb, and again gained about almost half a tenth through there. You can see a sigh of breath there, because I know this is quite a good lap. I know there's a lot of time to make up in this last chicane as well. But as we come into it, we almost hit the grass there. And we get the first part better, but you can see we lost so much time. Bit hesitant under the braking there, but we gained all the time with the exit. As we come across the line, come on, yes! Don't know if that'd be enough. That was a 27.8, which means we got pole position by over a tenth from Carsey, who is an incredibly fast driver. I think he's in the top 3 no assists drivers in time trial around here, and actually beat TTM Rusty in a league race recently.
Thanks, man.
So definitely very high level competition. And yeah, I was pretty shocked that I got pole position there. So yeah, the pace was really good, and the lap was very nice with a bit of time to find as well into that last chicane. So starting on pole position here, TTM Rusty isn't actually here for this race as well, because he was doing another event. So we've got 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights here, and as they go out now, we try and get a good start, but Carsey actually gets a pretty incredible start. So does Maris, but he has nowhere to go. See, he's almost side by side, but going into here, I think he was being very generous there, deciding to let me go when I think he could have easily taken a position. So pretty fair driving from him, so respect for that. Maybe he's watched my Baku races and maybe decided to give me a bit of a break, but we now lead this race, which quite often I don't really get pole position, and I'm used to actually leading a race itself. I'm always usually coming from behind itself. So we'll see what we do on this first lap. And I had a feeling I had a bit more downforce than Carsey because I was incredibly fast in the first sector compared to pretty much everyone else on the grid itself. And as I said, didn't really change the set that much. I pretty much just took it from time trial and yeah, kind of stuck with that. As you can see, as we're coming out of the exit spoon, changed the brake bias to 51, quite similar to what we did at Baku. And the reason why I've done that is really for this last chicane, just gives me a lot better stability. And this is something I've actually been deploying recently in my races, which I found has been quite successful for me. As we come through this last chicane, we're going to lead the first lap of this race, and yeah, so far so good. But as we skip a bit later into this lap at the end of this first sector, coming through here, you can see the first sector we gain quite a bit of time for this. We've got a 7/10 lead at this stage, so the pace is looking quite nice. As we come through into here now, Millsy has retired from the session. What's that going to do? It's going to bring out the... Is it going to be the full safety car? But no, it's going to be the virtual safety car. And a lot of people will say here, why have I left so much time on the Delta? The reason for that is you'll see in a second as we come through into here now.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not.
And yeah, if you didn't get the reason why I left quite a bit of time on the table, it's because at Monza I got a drive-through penalty for speeding under the virtual safety car. And if you're in the lead of the race, it doesn't really matter that much. Unless the person behind you gets a jump. No, I haven't got any positions to make up, so I decided to leave plenty of room on the table. I had a bit of Monza PTSD flashbacks there, and I didn't want to repeat of that. So yeah, I decided to leave quite a bit of room on the table, and we are still leading this race, which is exactly what we want. But as we skip towards the end of lap 3 now, the DRS has been enabled. I'm not going to try and break out the DRS zone of Carsey because he's an incredibly fast driver, and we're not going to break out of his DRS. So the goal here is to try and keep up a good pace, but save as much ERS as possible, because it's quite hard to recoup the battery around here. So I wanted to keep up the pace, try and force him to use his ERS as much as possible, try and stretch him out a bit, but he was particularly quick in a straight line. So we use a bit of the ERS, and then we are going to turn it off, and I think he's going to make quite a comfortable move. So we're not going to fight this too hard. We're going to let him have the lead of this race, and we're going to stick behind him just so you can see what it's like to follow him for the rest of the lap. And again, particularly for this first sector, we were quite strong, but I didn't mind giving up this position here. A lot of people always say to me, why have you given up this position? I did it because I wanted to save the ERS, and the race isn't really won here. It's won in the second stint, so I want to try and force him to use his ERS as much as possible. Have a bit better tyre wear, and you can see we're on 73% of the ERS now, and whenever you're the car behind, it is significantly easier to save the battery, especially if you're in the DRS, because the engine isn't having to do quite as much work since the car ahead of you is pushing a hole through the air. So you can see again through the corners, we definitely have the pace here. Use a little bit of the ERS just to get a bit of momentum on the exit of this corner. But you can see in a straight line, even with the slipstream, he is still actually quite strong here. And I felt at this stage of the race that our pace was really, really good. I have a little bit of a moment here, so a bit of a reminder that you have to keep the concentration at all times, and we're going to be comfortably within the DRS zone here. So as we come towards the end of the next lap, you can see the gap is pretty similar, and the goal here is just to keep nice and close and save as much of the ERS as possible. There's no point being in the lead right now at all. Snipes sets the fastest lap of the race, who has really, really good pace around here, and you can see going through this first sector, literally almost pushing around the first couple of corners. As we come towards the end of the next lap, you can see again, could have gone for the overtake here. We actually turn off the DRS because I don't want to battle at this stage. I want to try and ensure that we are clear of the drivers behind of James B and Snipes, who are both controller players, and surprisingly the controller seems to be quite competitive around here. So I really wanted to make sure we are outside the DRS zone here and make it a 2-horse race instead of a 4-horse race. And you can see, end of this lap again, we've got quite a lot of ERS saved, and I'm just trying to push him to use as much of his battery as much as possible. And you can see again, under 2 tenths away going through this section. So as we come towards the end of this lap, quite often in my league races I go quite long, and usually that hasn't worked out for me. And as I said, for this race I didn't really do that much preparation, so I didn't know how powerful the undercut or overcut would be. But I decided, you know what, I'm so close here. The guys behind me are quite close as well, and if they undercut me, then it's going to be really hard to overtake these 2 cars. So I decided to actually pull the trigger, take a bit of a risk for once, and go for an undercut, which is something I very rarely do. Quite like to have the freshest tyres in the field, and feel like I'm quite good at saving my tyres. But this time I decided to thought, you know what, Rusty's not here for the championship, and I've had an awful last 2 races. Why not actually try something different? And you know, Snipes had pitted as well, so I was quite conscious that the 2 behind me could get an undercut, and then there'd be 2 cars between myself and the race leader, and then that's going to be very difficult to overtake, because if you're in the DRS train here, it's notoriously difficult to overtake. But we come out here with a fair amount of clear air, but we do have BRS Ermine, who hasn't pitted yet on the medium alternate strategy. So right now he isn't holding us up here, but he could be as we go towards the end of this lap. So I'm pushing quite hard, and I wanted to try and, depending on what the pace is like, try and get him before the end of this lap, and then maybe get the DRS from Luciano. But the medium seemed to be still fairly good at the stage. You go for a spoon, you can see we're gaining quite a bit of time through into here, but we're not that close enough. So this is the stage where we might start to be held up ever so slightly, because I have to turn off the ERS here. So you don't really want to be overtaken to 130R. We get a really good run, so we go on the racing line. He sticks to the inside. He hasn't backed off completely, so we have to leave some room into here, which is going to cost us a little bit of time. And it wasn't too bad. We got a purple middle sector. Let's see what this last sector is. It's not a purple last sector, so we did lose a bit of time here. And coming out, Kasi has made the extra lap work, and now just having that fresher tyres could be significant at the end. But we're going to stay on board for the next couple of laps, or quite a few laps in this race, because these are probably the most important laps throughout the race itself. And the thing is how we get through the traffic. It's quite similar to what we had at Baku last time, where we came out behind Rusty. We did the same pit strategy as him, but he managed to get through the traffic. He managed to catch them at the right time, get through the traffic, and then put multiple cars between us. So that's the issue we face here, because it looks like Kasi is going to get within the DRS zone. It looks like he's pushing quite hard to get within the DRS zone, and we've had to use quite a bit of ERS on the outlap as well. So we're going to try and do our best to follow him through this traffic. So we keep on pushing here now as he's going to be within the DRS zone, but we might be too far behind Luciano because I want to try and follow him through at the same time if I can. I can't afford to have a car between myself and Carsey due to his pace, and he's going to have the lap pressure tyres as well, which will swing to his favour at the end of the race. But you can see go through to here, we didn't use the ERS because we're not close enough to Luciano, and now he's made the move on Luciano, and this is exactly what we didn't want. So now I was hoping that Luciano would have enough pace to try and stick with him, and then we can get the DRS on him going down the main straight, because we can't afford to lose the DRS to Carsey because his pace is very, very strong around here. So going through it here, we are closing up to the back and almost losing the car here as well. And we're not quite close enough here. So at this point, it isn't too bad because Luciano is still well within the second of Carsey, but now he actually lets us go here.
Let me go here.
And it's very nice of him, but I wanted him to actually stay within the DRS as much as he could to Carsey, because then we could have benefited from that DRS. But now we're actually almost outside of the DRS zone of Carsey, so we've got to use everything, because if we don't use it here now, I really believe his straight line speed was better in this race, so he's probably going to be saving a bit more ERS than us as well. And looks like his teammate is next up on the list, Rye UK, who you've already had a bit of history with at Baku if you haven't watched this race. So we do get within the DRS zone, but we're running on absolute fumes at this stage. So as we skip towards the end of lap 14, it's quite a similar scenario once again, but Carsey isn't going to overtake him here. So I was hoping that his teammate wouldn't let go on this straight and try and hold him up as much as possible. So we're going to try and avoid using the ERS, because if we use it here now, it's just going to be absolutely impossible to recover it. So we've got to try and get rid of the detection point, which we just about do. But it's going to be exactly the same again as Luciano, where Carsey's going to get a car between us, and then we're going to have to stay behind this car for an entire lap. And YUK hasn't pitted yet. But unlike Luciano, I was hoping that his teammate could actually keep up with Carsey and not drop off so much. And then we could get back within the DRS zone of Carsey. But you could already see for this first sector that he's almost pulled 7/10 of his teammate. YUK gets a really poor exit off here, and yeah, Carsey's already out of the DRS zone of his teammates. So again, this traffic is just the worst timing possible. There's really nothing we could do here, and yeah, we're just gonna have to sit and wait. And even if he lets us pass now, we're gonna be outside the DRS zone as he has a little bit of lag. But yeah, this is not ideal at all. And yeah, I decided to go for the undercut because I just thought, why not? Why not do this? And just wanted to protect myself for the drivers behind. But yeah, you can see this has cost us quite a bit of time. But if he can keep up the pace for this last sector, we should have a bit of speed on the straight to maybe get quite close to the DRS zone of Carsey. So trying to get a really good run through here, and thankfully he pits, and the gap between myself and Carsey is 1.7 seconds. Let's see what's going to be. A Snipes looks like he's thinking about going for an overtake, but he does have a 3-second time penalty, but you never know if he might get that removed. And yeah, over the next couple of laps, Carsey, just with his pace, just had that extra 10th or 2 at all, like, over us. And yeah, we decided to let Snipes go because it's like he had quite good pace. His red light is flashing, so he is running very low on the ERS. The gap is now 2 seconds up to Carsey, but I wanted to use Snipes to try and save as much as the battery as possible. So you can see we have managed to save a little bit. The gap has gone up to 2.4 seconds to Carsey, but we have kind of just sat back a little bit, hoping maybe towards the end of the race with the better tyre wear, or if Carsey gets a 3-second time penalty, then we could get back within or stay within that 3 seconds. So I'm just using Snipes right now as pretty much as an ERS saving tool, and then maybe overtake him at the end of the race once we've managed to save it, because Snipes is not really saving the ERS, and it looks like he's really pushing hard. You can see through this high downforces again as NXR marks out the race, which now has brought out the full-blown safety car. And that might be a lifeline in this race. So we've got a decision to make. Do we pit for softs or do we stay out? And Snipes decides to pit, but Carsey stays out, so we decide to stay out as well. And now that has brought us right back into this race once again. But the thing is,
oh my god, everyone's pitting.
That looks like everyone is pitting, but you will see that Snipes does come out in around P6, P7, so we do have quite a few cars between us, which is okay. But the safety car decided to stay out for a full 2 laps. I'm waiting for others to catch up, so we're going to have 2 racing laps. Let's get caught napping just a little bit on the restart here. So Carsey really timed that nicely, and yeah, we were just napping a bit there. Could have got a much better restart, but now we are back within a second. But the problem is we're not going to have DRS, so to make this overtake happen, we're going to have to get a incredibly good run. So we're just going to give it absolutely everything on the last 2 laps of this race itself. And Amos Tris behind is on slightly fresher tyres, but he does have a 3-second time penalty. And as I said, this track is pretty difficult to overtake. If you don't have the DRS, it's a really, really difficult track to overtake on. So I was hoping with the high downforce that the tyres coming towards the end of the stint, we might have a bit more. So you can see definitely through the corners, we do have more grip than Carsey. But in a straight line, he is very, very fast. So we're just going to give it absolutely everything we can here and see if we could just pressure him into a mistake. And you can see Snipes still isn't even up into the top 5. So it was a good decision in the end to not pit. Otherwise, yeah, we would have been in a little bit of a predicament. But you can see go through into here. Looks like he's saving a bit of ES for the last lap, so really did gain quite a lot. But going through this last chicane, he is very, very strong. If we had the DRS here, then we'd be in a prime position to overtake. But we don't have the DRS. And yeah, last lap now. Just going to give it absolutely everything we can. And going through this first sector, you can see again, just gaining all the time in these corners. And we only got the hope that he's going to make quite a big mistake. So go for this first sector again. You'll see through this section, this is where we make up the time for these long sweeping corners. And getting a great exit off here. Using the ERS. Try to save a little bit for this back straight. Go give it everything coming into the sequence of corners. Just go underneath the bridge. Got a little bit wide here, but we're still getting a fairly decent exit. Now coming into the headbit, so we can see getting really, really close. Getting some great rotation coming through here. And this is definitely the closest that we have been so far. Now going to Spoon. Just go throw everything at the sequence of chords. This is really the last point. So getting a great run through here. He goes a little bit wide coming through here. So we actually are very close coming up the exit here. But the straight line speed of the Mercedes is just a little bit more than us. So we are in the slipstream. We're giving it everything through into here. 130 are completely flat out of ERS turned on. His red light is going to be flashing now, but we're not going to be close enough. Going through into this last chicane, and yep, gave it everything on this last 2 laps. Even if we got a good restart, we were as close as we could be coming off Spoon. And yeah, overall, I was fairly satisfied with that race, considering we hadn't got points for the previous 2 races. And yeah, just been quite frustrated with F1 21 recently, of how my races have gone. I was quite happy with how I drove there, in all honesty itself. So GG to Kasi. Thank you very much for people who joined the stream, for supporting the channel as well. I really hope you enjoyed this race. We will be back next Saturday at Hungary, which is a really good track for me, in fact, so I'm looking forward to that. Also, to let you know, thank you to everyone who has registered to Bybit with the QR code here. The competition for the first month, the monthly giveaway, has finished now. I will be announcing the winners this week of the first monthly giveaway. If you also registered to Bybit, you will be entered into the F1 22 Championship Edition giveaway, which I will be doing later at the end of this month as well. But for the first monthly winners, I will be announcing that this week very shortly. So thank you so much. Hope you're having a great day, and I will be catching you very soon. Peace.